Sophia Bennett arrived at the Havenbrook Country Club's annual charity gala, wearing a simple cotton dress and flat shoes, immediately standing out among the glamorous guests. "The service entrance is around back, darling," called out club president Victoria Hamilton, amid snickers from other members. 2 hours later, when Sophia's $4.7 billion fortune and global technology empire were revealed, those snickers would give way to absolute silence. Havenbrook Country Club was one of New England's most prestigious social institutions. Founded in 1897, this magnificent club was known for its lush golf courses, elegant Victorian-style buildings, and most importantly, its strict membership criteria. Wealth alone wasn't enough to become a member here. You needed to belong to the right family, have attended the right schools, and be recognized in the right social circles. The club's annual spring charity gala was one of the most important events on the social calendar. Held every year on the first Saturday of May, this gala was organized to raise funds for children's hospitals. However, everyone knew that the real purpose wasn't fundraising, but displaying wealth, status, and social connections. Victoria Hamilton, as the club's first female president, had gone to great lengths to make the event more spectacular than ever. At 58, Victoria was a member of a family that had belonged to Havenbrook for 3 generations, a former CEO of a major banking chain, and a ruthless social climber. Her dark hair was always perfectly styled, adorned with pearls and diamonds, and she wore nothing but brands like Oscar de la Renta and Chanel. Victoria always had a group around her, women like herself, wealthy, privileged, and eager to judge others. This evening, she stood at the entrance to the grand ballroom with Catherine Reed, Samantha Whitmore, and Elizabeth Palmer. All 4 were dressed in carefully selected designer outfits, examining and critically comparing the guests. "Can you believe Lillian wore the same Valentino dress for the 3rd time this season?" whispered Samantha, bringing her champagne glass to her lips. "The divorce rumors about Robert and Janet must be true," added Catherine. "They're sitting at separate tables and Janet danced with Robert's former partner." Victoria nourished such gossip. Information was power, and at Havenbrook, power was everything. Her eyes constantly scanned the room, noting who was talking to whom, who was being ignored, what new jewelry, outfits, or cosmetic surgeries were being displayed. At exactly 8 p.m., Victoria's sharp eyes caught sight of a woman standing at the entrance to the ballroom. The woman was alone, and definitely should not have been there. This woman of medium height, slender build, appearing to be in her early 40s, had her light brown hair in a simple bun. She wore a plain, straight-cut, light blue cotton dress. Her shoes were flat, black ballerinas. She wore no jewelry on her neck, wrists, or ears, just a thin silver necklace. Her makeup was minimal, and her bag was a simple leather shoulder bag. Victoria immediately turned to the other women. "Look at that," she said, nodding toward the woman. "Did tickets go to the wrong table?" Samantha narrowed her eyes. "Maybe she's a staff member?" "The gala staff wear white shirts and black pants," Victoria said definitively. "This woman definitely doesn't belong here." The mysterious woman was slowly moving through the ballroom. She was looking around, but avoiding eye contact with anyone. Victoria could tell from the way she watched people passing by that she wasn't feeling comfortable. "I'll check," said Victoria, handing her glass to Catherine. "Security concerns are my responsibility." Victoria approached the woman with a fake smile on her face. As she got closer, she noticed that the woman really did look very plain. Her skin was clean and well cared for, but showed no signs of luxury treatments. Her dress was made of quality fabric, but definitely not designer. Victoria was certain that this woman was either a lost staff member or someone who had come to the wrong place. "Good evening," said Victoria, drawing out each word. "Can I help you?" The woman turned to her and smiled. "Good evening. No, thank you. I'm just looking around." Victoria frowned. The woman had no accent, but her way of speaking was far from the refined tones of New England society. "I'm afraid I don't recognize you. You are—" "Sophia Bennett," said the woman, extending her hand. "And you must be Victoria Hamilton, right? I've seen your photos." Victoria reluctantly shook her hand, trying to remember who she might be. Bennett. Bennett. It wasn't one of the wealthy families at Havenbrook. She could be from neighboring communities. Maybe a politician's wife or someone from the media? Yes, I'm Victoria. Welcome, Ms. Bennett. And which table are you at tonight? Sophia shrugged slightly. I don't know yet. I just arrived. I think there was a seating plan at the entrance, but I didn't check. Victoria's suspicions grew. Every guest would know their table number on their invitation. Tickets were sold months in advance, and the seating arrangement was planned with great care. Is your invitation with you? Victoria asked, now dropping the pretense of politeness. Oh, sure, said Sophia, rummaging in her bag. She pulled out a simple white envelope and handed it to Victoria. Victoria opened the envelope and examined the elegant invitation inside. It was indeed made out to Sophia Bennett, but no table number was specified. This was very strange. Where did you get this? Victoria asked, now openly suspicious. It came in the mail, Sophia said simply. Last week. Victoria frowned. Invitations weren't sent by mail. They were delivered in handwritten, personalized envelopes. This woman was definitely an uninvited guest. Ms. Bennett, I'm afraid there's been a mistake. Our events are only for our members and special invitees, Victoria said, raising her voice. People around them were now turning to look. But I have an invitation, said Sophia, still calmly. This must be fake, Victoria said definitively. The service entrance is around back, darling. Or perhaps you think you're at a different event? People around them started to snicker. Victoria's friends had approached and were watching the scene. Sophia didn't blush or react. She just looked at Victoria. Do you know Mr. Richardson? Asked Sophia. Charles Richardson? I believe he's on the organizing committee. Victoria hesitated for a moment. Charles Richardson was one of the wealthiest and most influential members of the club. He was the chairman of the gala committee and, though Victoria wouldn't openly admit it, the person to whom she owed her position. Of course I know Mr. Richardson, Victoria said carefully, but he's not here at the moment. He said he'd be arriving late. I see, said Sophia, nodding. Then I'll wait. May I have something to drink? Victoria was starting to get angry now. Who did this plain-looking woman think she was? She was trying to pass herself off as an invitee by claiming to know Charles Richardson. This sort of thing wouldn't happen at Havenbrook under Victoria's watch. Look, Miss Bennett, I don't know you, and it's not appropriate for you to be here. I'll ask you to leave now, or I'll have to call security, Victoria said, now fully aware that the crowd was watching them. Sophia thought for a moment. All right, she finally said. I'll wait outside until Mr. Richardson arrives. Thank you, Miss Hamilton. Victoria felt victorious. The woman had understood her unwanted presence and hadn't resisted leaving. She turned to the crowd with a triumphant look. Her friends were nodding approvingly. Good decision, Victoria said in a cold tone. Security will show you to the exit. Victoria signaled to a nearby security guard. The man immediately came over. Would you please escort this lady to the exit? Said Victoria, with obvious mockery when saying the word lady. Just then, the doors at the other end of the ballroom opened, and Charles Richardson entered. A tall, silver-haired, charismatic man in his 60s, Charles came in with his wife and several friends. He had a presence that spread through the room like electricity. Victoria immediately turned her attention to Charles, already forgetting about Sophia. The guest of honor and the biggest donor had arrived. Victoria needed to welcome him and seat him at his special table. Mr. Richardson, Victoria called out as she approached him. How lovely to see you. You're just in time. The speeches are about to begin. Charles Richardson smiled politely. Victoria, thank you. I'm a bit late. I apologize. I had to pick up an important guest on the way. Victoria quickly interjected. I'm sure we've arranged the best table for your guest. If you tell me who it is, I can check right away. Charles looked around the room. Actually, I thought she had already arrived. Ah, there she is. Victoria followed his gaze and froze in shock. Charles was looking directly at Sophia Bennett, and he was smiling. A warm, genuine smile. Sophia! Charles called out, raising his hand. We're over here! Victoria was stunned. Sophia was standing next to the security guard looking at Charles. Now she was smiling too. Charles left Victoria behind and headed straight for Sophia. When he reached her, he gave her a warm hug. Sophia, you finally made it. Margaret and I were talking about you all the way here. We're so glad you could come from New York. Sophia returned the hug. Charles, thank you for your invitation. I finally got to see the famous Havenbrook Country Club. Charles noticed Victoria's shocked face. Victoria, have you met Sophia? Sophia Bennett, the daughter of my old college friend Edward Bennett. She is... Charles, Sophia gently interrupted. Ms. Hamilton and I have met, yes. She was very helpful, but I think there's a confusion with my invitation. My table number isn't specified. Charles frowned. What nonsense. Of course you'll sit at our table. You're one of the guests of honor tonight. Victoria, there's no problem, is there? Victoria's face had turned white. No, of course not. There must have been a mix-up. Great, said Charles, taking Sophia's arm. Come, Sophia, let me introduce you to everyone. Victoria stood frozen as Charles and Sophia walked away. Sophia gave her one last look. There was neither anger nor triumph in her gaze, just slight curiosity. Samantha, Catherine, and Elizabeth immediately rushed to Victoria's side. Who is she? Whispered Samantha. Why is Charles paying attention to her? Victoria shook her head helplessly. I don't know. He said she's the daughter of Edward Bennett. Edward Bennett, said Catherine, thoughtfully. I've heard that name, but I can't remember from where. Victoria was uneasy for the rest of the evening. She was trying to figure out who Sophia was. Edward Bennett. The name sounded familiar, but who was he? Charles had referred to him as an old college friend, so he was probably from Harvard. But why did his daughter dress so simply? Why hadn't she been seen at Havenbrook before? When dinner service began, Victoria glanced at Charles's special table. Sophia was sitting there, next to Charles and his wife Margaret, along with the city mayor, the state senator, and the CEOs of two major banks. She was sitting with the most important people at the table, and they were all engaged with her. Charles must have told a joke because the whole table was laughing, including Sophia. Even as Victoria sat at her own table eating her meal, her eyes kept drifting to that table. Who was this woman? After dessert came the most important moment of the night, the fundraising. Each year, the biggest donors would be called on stage and applauded by everyone. This was the most overt display of power and wealth. Charles took the stage and grabbed the microphone. Good evening, dear friends. It's wonderful to see you all here tonight. As we do each year, we've gathered to support the children's hospitals in our city. The crowd applauded. Charles continued his speech, explaining how last year's donations had been used and how many children's lives they had touched. And now I want to honor this year's major donors, he said, the generous people whose donations have made the construction of the new pediatric oncology department at Havenbrook Children's Hospital possible. Charles looked at his paper and began reading the names. As each name was called, that person would come on stage and be applauded. The donation amounts were also announced. $50,000, $100,000, $250,000. Victoria was waiting for her name to be called. She had made a donation of $200,000, a substantial amount. However, suddenly, Charles's speech interrupted her thoughts. And now I have the great honor of announcing our biggest donor this year, said Charles, smiling. This person has provided generous support not only to the Havenbrook Children's Hospital, but to children's health programs nationwide. She is the daughter of my old and dear friend Edward Bennett, the CEO and founder of Bennett Technology, Sophia Bennett. The hall fell silent in astonishment, then erupted in applause. Victoria's jaw dropped. Bennett Technology? That massive technology company? The one ranked high on Forbes's most valuable companies list? Sophia took the stage, still in that simple blue dress. Charles hugged her and handed her the microphone. Thank you, Charles, said Sophia in a soft voice. It's an honor to be here tonight. My father always said that health and education are the most precious gifts we can give to children. That's why I'm proud to donate $10 million to the new pediatric oncology department at Havenbrook Children's Hospital. The hall once again fell silent in shock. $10 million. This was the largest single donation in Havenbrook's history. No one was expecting such a large donation. Victoria was frozen. Sophia Bennett was the founder and CEO of Bennett Technology, a globally recognized tech giant. Forbes magazine listed her as one of the world's richest women, with a net worth of around $4.7 billion. And Victoria had told her, the service entrance is around back. Sophia finished her speech. thanked Charles, and left the stage. The hall was giving her a standing ovation. Victoria saw Sophia now making her way through the crowd toward her. Her heart started racing. Sophia was surely coming to confront her about how she had been treated. However, when Sophia reached her side, she just smiled slightly. "Wonderful event, Miss Hamilton," she said calmly. "Havenbrook is really a beautiful place. I'm thinking of coming more often soon." Victoria stammered. I, I'm sorry, Ms. Bennett. There really was a big misunderstanding. If I had known who you were." Sophia tilted her head slightly. "That's the problem, isn't it? You needed to know who I was. But it doesn't matter. What matters is the money we raise tonight for the children. That will really make a difference for them." Victoria blushed with shame. "Yes, of course," she murmured. "Now if you'll excuse me," said Sophia. "I need to say goodbye to Charles. I have an early flight tomorrow morning. Good evening, Miss Hamilton." As Sophia walked away, Victoria stood in place, still not fully comprehending what had happened. A few minutes later, her friends rushed to her side. "Sophia Bennett," said Samantha breathlessly. "That's Sophia Bennett." "How did we not recognize her?" "The woman on the cover of Forbes," added Catherine. "But in those photos, she's always in elegant business suits. Time magazine included her in their most influential 100 people list," said Elizabeth. "Victoria, I can't believe you treated her that way." Victoria swallowed. How could I have known? She looked so plain." As the night progressed, other Havenbrook members learned how Victoria had treated Sophia Bennett. Gossip spread quickly. Victoria tried to explain herself, but no one was listening. Now she was the one everyone was talking about. A week later, Victoria received an email from the country club's board of directors. Following a vote by the members, she had been removed from her position as president. The reason? Behavior inconsistent with the club's values and mission. When Charles Richardson called her, Victoria was on the verge of tears. "Why, Charles?" "Because I made one mistake. How could I have known who she was?" Charles's voice on the phone was calm but serious. "The issue isn't that you didn't know who she was, Victoria. The issue is how you treated someone whose identity you didn't know. Sophia may dress simply, but that doesn't change the fact that she's one of the smartest and most successful business people in the world. And even if she dresses simply, everyone deserves respect." "But this isn't fair," Victoria protested. "I made a mistake, and now my whole life is falling apart." "No, Victoria, you didn't make a mistake. You showed a pattern of character. Havenbrook will need Sophia Bennett's support and donations from the Bennett Foundation in the future, and unfortunately, your behavior almost ruined that relationship." When Victoria hung up the phone, for the first time in her life, she truly examined herself. Maybe Charles was right. Maybe the problem was how she evaluated people, by their clothes, their jewelry, and their connections. Perhaps it would be better to evaluate them by their inner qualities. 3 months later, Sophia Bennett returned to Havenbrook. This time she came for a business meeting. She had purchased a large piece of land in the city and was planning to build Bennett Technology's new research center there. This meant thousands of jobs and millions of dollars in investment for the city. After the meeting, Sophia was sitting in a local cafe. The door opened and Victoria Hamilton walked in. Sophia recognized her immediately. Victoria no longer dressed as ostentatiously as before. She wore a simple skirt and blouse with minimal jewelry. Victoria hesitantly approached Sophia's table. "Ms. Bennett, may I have a moment of your time?" Sophia looked up and smiled. "Of course, Miss Hamilton. Please sit down." Victoria sat down. Her hands were trembling. "I owe you an apology," she said directly. "My behavior was inexcusable, and I'm very sorry." Sophia thought for a moment. "I accept your apology," she finally said. "We all make mistakes." "I've been thinking a lot since that night," said Victoria, "about what kind of person I am, and I'm trying to change. I now volunteer at a local charity, serving food to the homeless. I'm learning not to judge people before I know them." A warm smile appeared on Sophia's face. "That's wonderful, Victoria. True change comes from within." Victoria smiled, her eyes filling with tears. "You're right, and I wanted to tell you this. Bennett Technology coming here is a great gain for our city. If I can help in any way, whatever it may be, please let me know." Sophia studied Victoria for a while. Actually, you might be able to help. We're planning community engagement programs at our new center, partnerships with local schools, hospitals, and charities. We need someone who knows the local community and can coordinate these programs. Victoria's eyes widened. You're considering me? But why? I treated you so badly. Sophia shrugged. Because you say you've changed, and I believe in the power of second chances. Also, your local connections and organizational skills are exactly what we need. Victoria wiped the tears from her eyes. Thank you, Miss Bennett. I'll do my best to deserve this opportunity. Sophia, she said, extending her hand. You can call me Sophia. The two women shook hands, not just a reconciliation, but also a new beginning. 1 year later, the Bennett Technology Research Center opened. Sophia and Victoria cut the ribbon together. Victoria was now the center's community relations director, and her programs had been a great success. In particular, a technology education program for disadvantaged children had gained national attention. Victoria had established strong connections with the local community. Where once she had only been interested in wealthy and privileged people, she now worked with people from all walks of life. Sophia's simple appearance hadn't changed. She still dressed plainly, wore minimal jewelry, and lived modestly. Although she dressed more professionally for company meetings or formal events, in her daily life, she stayed away from luxury. Despite her billions, her car was a 10-year-old Toyota, and she lived alone in her apartment in the city. One day, Victoria gathered the courage to ask, Sophia, I've been wondering, why do you live so simply? I mean, with all your wealth, you could have anything you want. Sophia smiled. My father always taught me, true value is not in showing off, but in the work you do and the impact you leave. I'm just following his teachings. But when no one recognizes you the way they treat you, doesn't that bother you? Asked Victoria, still thinking about that gala night. Sophia considered this. Sometimes, yes, it bothers me, but at the same time, I get to see people's true faces. Not how they act when they know who I am, but how they really are. Victoria bowed her head in shame. Like me. Yes, said Sophia gently. But look, you've changed, and that to me is more valuable than my fortune, witnessing a real change in someone's life. After that conversation, the relationship between Victoria and Sophia began to transform into a real friendship. Victoria was impressed by how Sophia navigated the complex business world and how she remained humble and kind, despite all the pressure and challenges. Sophia saw that Victoria had truly changed, now evaluating people not by their appearance, but by their character. 2 years later, another spring charity gala was held at the Havenbrook Country Club. This time, Victoria attended as a guest, not as a leader. Sophia was also there, again in a simple dress, but this time no one mocked her. Everyone knew who she was and showed respect, not for her money, but for her character. During the gala, Sophia took the stage and grabbed the microphone. Good evening. Tonight I want to share a special announcement with all of you. The Bennett Foundation is making a $50 million donation to the Havenbrook Children's Hospital. This will double the hospital's capacity and allow it to establish one of the country's most advanced pediatric research centers. The hall erupted in applause. Sophia continued her speech. Also, this new center will be called the Hamilton Bennett Pediatric Research Center, because Victoria Hamilton's contributions to bringing this vision to life have been invaluable. Victoria rose from her seat in surprise. She never expected her name to be associated with this project. With tears in her eyes, she hugged Sophia. I don't deserve this, she whispered. You do, said Sophia. Change is possible, and you are proof of that. That night, the wealthy and powerful members of Havenbrook learned a valuable lesson. They learned that true value lies not in appearance or bank balance, but in character and actions. Victoria Hamilton's story was both a warning and a story of hope. People can change, prejudices can be overcome, and sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the most unexpected sources. 5 years later, Victoria and Sophia founded a foundation called Beyond Appearance together. This organization fought against appearance-based discrimination and worked for equality. Their programs included training on unconscious bias in companies, supporting diversity and inclusion initiatives, and creating opportunities in disadvantaged communities. In an interview with a journalist, Victoria said, "The biggest mistake of my life also became my greatest teacher. I'm ashamed of how I treated Sophia Bennett, but that experience completely changed me. Now I try to see people from the inside, not from the outside." Sophia added, "We all make mistakes, but what matters is what we learn from those mistakes. Victoria showed me that real change is possible, and I think that's a gift more valuable than the billions I have." Havenbrook Country Club had also changed. It was no longer an institution based solely on wealth and status, but an organization that served the community and embraced diversity. Membership criteria were now based not on family background or wealth, but on contribution to the community. Every year, the club presented the Sophia Bennett Change Award to individuals who demonstrated extraordinary examples of personal transformation and community service. And at each award ceremony, Sophia and Victoria took the stage together, reminding everyone that there is potential for change in everyone. Sophia Bennett is still one of the world's richest women, but her wealth now serves a different purpose than before. Bennett Technology develops technology not just for profit, but to make the world a better place. The Bennett Foundation donates billions of dollars in education, health, and equality. Most importantly, Sophia is still that simple, humble woman. Instead of luxury cars or flashy jewelry, she prefers to be recognized for her values and actions. She still doesn't tell new people who she is, waiting to see how they treat her. Victoria Hamilton is now a completely different person. The woman who was once obsessed with status and appearance now focuses on inner values and real impact. She wants to be recognized for what she does, not what she has. The two women now often smile together as they recall their first encounter. "The service entrance is around back, darling." Victoria repeats her own words and shakes her head in shame. "I'll never forget the expression on your face." Sophia laughs. "When I announced the $10 million donation." Then she adds with a serious expression, "But you know the reason I forgave you that night was because of what I saw in your eyes." There was shock and shame, of course, but also the beginning of an awareness. "At that moment, I felt you could change." Victoria nods. "And you gave me that chance. Most people wouldn't have. Because I believe in seeing the potential inside people," says Sophia, "just like my father saw in me. I was just a young girl interested in technology, but he saw that I could build an empire." Now there's a saying in Havenbrook, you can be a Bennett or you can be a Hamilton. Or like Victoria, you can transform from one to the other. This reminds people that what matters is not who they are, but what they do and how they act. And most importantly, that change is always possible. The story of Sophia Bennett and Victoria Hamilton is a powerful lesson in how misleading appearances can be and where true value lies. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking people are the most extraordinary. And sometimes the most unexpected encounters can change our lives forever. What did you learn from this story? Have you ever been judged by your appearance? Or have you judged someone that way? Share your experiences in the comments. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We'll be back every week with similar inspiring stories. Which country are you watching from today? Let us know in the comments. Remember, true value is always within us, and appearance never reflects the potential inside.